Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be talking about part 4 and the final part in my list ranking all of modern Doctor Who from worst to best. And today we're going to be ranking the top 30 stories of modern Doctor Who. And the first entry on this list kind of has an A and a B, because whether you consider them a three-parter or two-parters that just run consecutively is up for debate, I think, for people. I usually consider them separate. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to kind of put them together, but I am going to give one kind of a 30 and a half and one a 30. And that's going to be World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls, and Twice Upon a Time. Now, I wanted to just put these as one, but I have to be honest with myself. I do like Twice Upon a Time slightly better. Just a little better. If I really should have just done them separately. But they would have fell one right after the other. The Doctor Falls and World Enough in Time are both really good. Capaldi is putting in such a performance. He is so good in this. Michelle Gomez is so good in this. John Sims is so good in this. When he's playing the Master and when he's playing the guy he's disguised as. He's hilarious at that. Bill Potts, Pearl Mackey is putting in a good... It's really well performed. The sets look good. The Mondasian Cybermen looks good. I love the ideas in it. Like the idea of the ship being caught in the pool of a black hole and time moving at different speeds on one end of the ship than it does on the other is fascinating. How it's going so much faster at one end of the ship to where, much like what happened on Mondas, people are having to resort to extreme measures to survive. That's a fascinating idea. I love seeing the Mondasian Cybermen back. It's a great design. It doesn't quite measure up to their appearance in the 10th Planet. I think something about that story and being in black and white just adds to that. But it's still impressive. It's a great episode 1 cliffhanger. Part 2 doesn't quite live up to part 1, but it's good. I love John Sims when he's running around disguised as the other guy with all of his humorous bits, like when they're trying to escape and he's wearing the little mask. That's funny. The bit about the coffee. Isn't it in the coffee? Is it any good? No. Forget what he says, but it's funny. The bit at the beginning when you think the Doctor's going to talk the guy down because he's the Doctor. And you're going to hand me that gun, and then boom, he puts that hole in Bill, and we're all like, eh? The part at the beginning when Missy walks out pretending to be the Doctor, that's hilarious. You know, I'm Doctor Who, these are my companions, comic relief and exposition. I know some people probably don't like that. I got a kick out of it personally. So that was a lot of fun. The reveal of the Master at the end of John Sims' Master. Hey, a multi-master story. It's the first time that's happened in the show. I love it. And this is my favorite version of Sims' Master. He feels a lot more like the Master here. There's a couple really a little odd conversations there, but for the most part. Part 2, I don't like how they kind of start wearing the modern Cybermen armor so quickly. I kind of wished we'd seen some of the gaps in there, like the Invasion Cybermen, the Wheel in Space Cybermen, the Moon-based Cybermen, Earthshock Cybermen. Something like that, but I get, it's all down to how much can we afford to build the suits, and we don't just have the old suits lying around. I get that, but it's still a little disappointing. The fact that we still don't know what happened to Nardole and the rest. I mean, sure, they escaped, but there's only so many levels they can go up that ship for the Cybermen catch up. Did the Doctor ever go back and clean up that mess? I just love Capaldi's performance, though. It's really, really good. Twice Upon a Time, I enjoy. Yes, it gets the first Doctor wrong. Like, criminally wrong. I like David Bradley's performance. He really feels like, though, like he's playing a parallel Earth version of the first Doctor, not our Hartnell's version of the first Doctor. Richard Herndl nails the first Doctor far better than Bradley does, because he feels more like Hartnell's Doctor, whereas Bradley feels more like he's doing his own thing with it. And there's definitely some problematic parts in there. Other than that, I enjoy it. It is nice seeing the first Doctor. I enjoy some of the interactions between him and 12. I think they bring Bill back in a clever way, which I enjoy. That it's Bill, but it's not Bill. It's nice Capaldi gets his memories back of Clara. I like that. I love seeing Rusty again. I love how they incorporate the 10th planet footage. That's fantastic at the beginning and end of the episode. Matter of fact, the regeneration in Twice Upon a Time is my favorite regeneration. I love that regeneration. I love that they use the music, that Vale Decem or whatever it is. I don't know Latin. From the End of Time. They reuse it here for the first Doctor's regeneration, but where it's really sad in End of Time, because the 10th Doctor's dying, it's really mournful and sad. It starts out like that here, but then right when the footage is transitioning back to 10th Planet, it gets upbeat and hopeful. I love the way the music changes to much faster and quicker, and it has this more hopeful and new beginnings and regeneration feel to it. I love that piece of music. One of my favorite pieces of music in all of Doctor Who. Capaldi's regeneration is all right. The speech goes on too long. It's a good speech, but it's too long. You could have cut part of it out and then just kept the good bits. The actual regeneration itself is fine. Just nothing to write home about, but it's fine. And then the post scene with Jodie is fine. They're good stories. I also love the fact that it wasn't an evil plan. I actually like that. I know some people don't, but I like that. I don't know what to do if it's not an evil plan. I enjoyed that. I really, really like that moment. And how they tied it in with the Christmas armistice was done really, really well. I enjoyed that actually as well. Next on the list is Flatline. Once again, Capaldi putting in a good performance, but it still limits him on screen. Clara's really good in this one. I have a lot of issues with Clara in Capaldi's run, but she's really good in this one. Jenna is usually putting in a good performance. Jenna's great. Jenna's putting in a good performance here. It is nice seeing her kind of have to stand in for the Doctor in a way that makes sense in the story and her character. With the Doctor kind of sidelined, being stuck in the TARDIS, but helping how he can. I love the idea of the villains in this. I love when Doctor Who comes up with these unique, off-the-wall villains that just click. So the idea of creatures from a two-dimensional plane that are slowly evolving into ours and watching that progression over the course of the episode is fascinating, and I love it. Seeing them just taking people and basically killing them to where they can start moving around on two-dimensional planes to how they start forming themselves three-dimensionally. The special effects in this one are really good. It's definitely one of the highlights of the Capaldi era and a story I very much like going back to. And I enjoy the guest cast. They're not the most memorable, but I like them. Especially the one guy who does the drawing, who also comes back in Face the Raven. I liked him. Next on the list is the Unicorn and the Wasp. This one's fun. I've talked before about, like when I was talking about the Crimson Horror, I like fun filler episodes when they're done right. This one is just a joy to watch. It has this little twinkle in its eye, like it knows it's not supposed to be taken 100% seriously, and it's just having a good time. It's cast so well. The cast are all in on the joke, by the way. They're all in on the fact that you don't take this 100% seriously, but you're not leaning into Horns of Nimon camp either. You're finding that balance between the two. I love the fact that we have, of course, one of the veteran actors from Classic Who, was it Christopher Benjamin, I believe, playing in this, who, of course, is in Inferno and Talons of Wing Chiang. So it's nice to see him back. I like how it does tie in with a unicorn and a wasp, technically. I like the girl playing the unicorn as well, even though we don't get much of her. The guy playing the actual wasp is nice. The woman playing Agatha Christie not only looks like Agatha Christie, because I actually understood how to do casting back then, but she's a good actress, and she plays that young Agatha Christie very, very well. And I enjoy the kind of off-the-walls nature of it. We're meeting Agatha Christie, and oh, here's this guy who turns into a giant wasp. It's bonkers, but it's bonkers in a good way. It's written well. It's a lot of fun, and it's done in this kind of Agatha Christie murder style, which is tied into the plot, I might add, with a really good ending. I really, really enjoy this one. It's one of the best just filler episodes. It's such a good watch, and it's perfect proof of why Tin and Donna are so good together because they are just banger in this one. They are so good. I love the scene when the Doctor realizes he's been poisoned and Donna's having to save him. That is hilarious. That's one of the funniest scenes in all of Doctor Who. Like when he's trying to tell her what he needs and she's like, brick-a-brack-a, brick-a-needs, brick-a-brack-a, brick-a-brack. I love the acting. Surprise me, shock me, and she kisses him and it worked. My hat's off to David Tennant and Catherine Tate there. They pull off such a good performance because they have such good chemistry together. I am actually glad we got some more stories with them in the 60th because they're so good together. Next on the list is The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Now, this one is a little higher than I thought it would be. I do think there's a little too much going on in it. It's a little over the top. The Russell T. Davies era finales do have this habit of having to constantly up the stakes and top themselves. So by the time we get to Series 4, the stakes are like through the atmosphere. I mean, it's not just the Earth at stake. It's not just the universe at stake. It's not just all of reality at stake. It's all of every reality at stake. To be fair, this is the kind of thing Davros would do. It's very in character for Davros. The reality bomb is very in character for Davros. Point to Russell for that. Julian Bleach is great as Davros. I also love the Davros makeup here. This could be the best Davros has ever looked from a makeup standpoint. It really does harken back to kind of that Genesis look, and I love that. And Julian's putting in a great performance here. I love seeing the companions back. Now, again, it's a little overstuffed. There's a lot going on in this two-parter, but it's good seeing. It's always nice seeing Sarah Jane again. Getting Martha back. I love Martha a lot. Donna, having Rose there. Seeing Martha find out that he found Rose, and she's just like, oh, he found you. I love that little scene there. I like the bit with the Dr. Donna and the Metacrisis Doctor. That's pretty neat. I love that Rose gets her happy ending with her doctor. That's half human, that ages with her and can grow old with her and can have children with her. That's fine. That's great. I enjoy that. I like that the Metacrisis Doctor is a bit of a darker doctor. I like how it ties up all of everything that had been going on in the episodes with all the other planets. I enjoy it. It's a good way to bring Davros back into it. I do think it's a little weird that the TARDIS could pull the Earth back where it goes. Wouldn't that cause floods and tidal waves? And I mean, by the time they got the Earth back, wouldn't it just be a ruin? But willing suspension of disbelief. Willing suspension of disbelief. It's fine. And just seeing everyone piloting the TARDIS, except for Jackie, when she's like, no. That's funny. So a little overstuffed. But it even has little humorous moments in it, though. Like the bit with Harriet Jones. Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister. Yes, ma'am, I know who you are. I love the fact that even the Daleks get in on that joke. The Daleks walk in and, Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister. Yes, we know who you are. I like how even the Daleks sound slightly annoyed by it. Like, yes, we know who you are. I love it when they inject little bits of humor into that. That's so much fun. It is a good story. It's a good finale. Again, a little overblown, a little overstuffed, a little overrated, but still good. Next on the list is Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary special. Part of the reason it's not higher is it truly does feel more like a celebration of 8 years of modern Who than it does 50 years of Doctor Who. It has some nice Easter eggs to classic Who. There's not enough going on there. The actual story is fine. It doesn't blow me away, much like Five Doctors. You know, the plot's not the best thing in the world, but it's still fun for what it is. I love the Five Doctors. It's kind of like that here. I enjoy this, but the story is just kind of, I like the guest characters. I like seeing Kate back. I like the introduction of Osgood. I like Osgood as a character. I love that she's just a huge Doctor fangirl with the scarf and everything. I love that. The actress playing her is great. I love getting John Hurt as the War Doctor. We got John Hurt to play the Doctor. He is great as the War Doctor. He adds such a gravitas to the role. Now he does kind of play third fiddle to the other two Doctors once they all kind of get together, but he still has some nice shining moments. I think Matt and David get on well together. Their Doctors get on well together. I like the fact that their Doctors do get on well together. I love that they sneak the running gag of, oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it. Yeah, you never do. I love that they got that in there. I love the fact they put that in the trailer, too. That made me smile the first time I saw it. I like that they brought the Zygons back. That's cool to bring the Zygons back. That was a nice choice, and it fits into the story very, very well. I like that it gave us the answer for why Queen Elizabeth I has a bit of a grudge against the 10th Doctor. That's nice. It has a lot of good humorous bits in it. We get Tom Baker. I mean, this is always going to be high up on my list because we got Tom Baker. I mean, this could be the last time we ever get Tom Baker in the show proper. But we actually did. We didn't have him for the 5 Doctors, but they got him back for Day of the Doctor. It's a beautiful scene, although Gallifrey being destroyed again kind of negates it, but just the scene in itself is wonderful. Tom's just, I feel like in those 3 minutes or so he's on screen, he shows why he's the gold standard. Just the way he does his lines, especially that bit at the end, you know, who knows, who knows. I love that. That's just typical 4th Doctor, typical Tom Baker, and I absolutely loved it. I love the scene at the end when we see the Doctors saving Gallifrey, and it's all the Doctors saving Gallifrey. I prefer some of the fan edits where they've extended that and they show, you know, more footage of the classic Doctors in there. I think that's a little better. I think we should have gotten a little more with them. I love the scene. I'm glad they did it. It's a phenomenal way using the archive footage to make it look like all the Doctors are there. That's really well done. I just wish they had expanded on it a little more with them and shown them a little more. Would have been nice. And it was a nice teaser for the 12th Doctor, I might add, as well. That was pretty well done. It's a good story, but I've noticed most of the time if I'm rewatching it, I want to fast forward through parts. So that's one of the reasons I can't rank it any higher. Is like I can sit through the whole thing, but more than likely if I'm sitting through the whole thing is because I'm watching it with someone who maybe has never seen it. You know, I've mentioned before I had a couple people I dated who like Doctor Who, so I'd be watching some of it with them. If I'm watching it by myself, there are little bits sometimes I just kind of wanting to fast forward through, get to the next thing. So I can't really rank it any higher than that. Again, more of a celebration of Modern Who than of Doctor Who, to me. Next on the list is The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. This one is fun. This one is good Doctor Who horror and mystery. I used to not like this one as much, but my last watch through of it really blew me away. Some of the special effects have aged kind of roughly, to be fair, but the story, much like Classic Who, the story holds it. I like this one. Everyone's putting in a good performance from the main cast and the guest cast, at least everyone I can think of right off the bat. I love the mystery of what's going on. I love the set design of the station, by the way. It's a really nice kind of industrial look, kind of like the Nostromo has. I mean, different from the Nostromos, but how the Nostromo had that blue-collar industrial look. The space station here also has that blue-collar industrial look. I love that. Very claustrophobic looking. The guy who gets possessed by it, the actor playing him does such a good job of, you know, when he's not possessed and then when he gets possessed. Kudos to the actor on that. The guy who's kind of the leader of the group, I like him a lot too. How, you know, you kind of feel like he didn't necessarily want to be in that position, but he's handling it really well. The actor playing him does really well. I love the fact they have Gabriel Wolf voicing the Beast. I love the fact that this is yet another time in Doctor Who where we run into an entity that could be basically the basis for where Earth gets their devil from. Much like how in Classic Who, that was Sutekh. That Sutekh was where we get kind of our basis for the devil from. And the fact that's not lost on the people who made this episode, because of course Sutekh in Classic Doctor Who was voiced by Gabriel Wolf. So the fact they brought Gabriel Wolf back to voice this is a wonderful callback to Sutekh and Classic Who, and just casting a good actor to do that. And the way he voices the Beast is great. That scene when he's first stalking the guy he's going to possess, and he's telling him, don't turn around. I'm right behind you. If I can just reach it. That's creepy and chilling. It's such a good scene. And then when he notices the symbols have gone off the pottery and they're on his hands, chilling stuff. That's just as chilling as Noah pulling his hand out of his pocket you know, and having the green slime wrapped around. I remember reading someone comparing those two scenes one time, and they're right. Those are just banger scenes, both of them. The resolution is good. I love the scene when the Doctor. It's a good two-parter. It's a two-parter that justifies being a two-parter, and I feel like part 2 lives up to part 1. I love when the Doctor's hanging over the pit, and he's like, you know, it could be 3 miles down there, or it could just be 30 feet. You know, and the Doctor has to know, because that feels very the Doctor. The Doctor has an insatiable curiosity. He has to know. So that feels very in character with the Doctor to take that risk. I mean, you could just imagine the third Doctor in that situation. I've got to know. I've got to know. And unhooking it and falling. That's very the Doctor. So I love that. His speech to the Beast at the end about I believe in her. Liked it better on last watch through than I usually do. It's kind of... I like that Rose saves the day by ejecting the guy out. It seems odd for the guy to kind of think he had won and reveal himself so early when all he had to do was sit tight for a little longer and he'd have been fine. But the fact he's raw before he's fully safe, seems a little plot convenience, but we'll let it go. I mean, I'm sure he's egotistical and thinks he's won anyway. But I like how Rose saves the day by just basically undoing his belt and bye. It's a good one. It's got action, it's got horror, it's got the ood, which I don't really care for, but the hints of the Beast in it are really good. Like sometimes when you see the Beast flicker on a screen in the background, or the bit when the ood's like, you are all going to die, it is coming, I am coming, whatever he says, I forget. They're nice little foreshadowings. So, okay, scary crap is about to go down. So it's a good one. It's a really good one. Next on the list is The End of Time. I like The End of Time more than some. It justifies its 2 parts. It really does. And I feel like part 2 measures up to part 1 just fine. Because a lot of the stuff that happens in End of Time, I can't justify with other Doctors. But with Tennant's Doctor, I let slide. Because Tennant's Doctor is the first Doctor that an entire generation of the fandom really had time to get attached to. I mean, a lot of people started with Eccleston, but he was kind of there and then he went. And so people understood regeneration. They got the concept that a Doctor really is, you know, an actor is just a caretaker of the role temporarily and they move on. But this was the first time they had a chance to really grow with a version of the Doctor, because Tennant was the Doctor for, you know, from 2005 to 2010, really a solid 4 years in the role. And a lot of people, you know, a lot happens in 4 years. Someone who started watching when they were 9 is now suddenly 13. Someone who started when they were 11 is now 15. They've really grown attached to this Doctor. He's such a popular Doctor, too, that they needed a chance to say goodbye. Because everyone knew Tennant was leaving. He had announced he was leaving. They'd already announced Matt Smith coming. But they needed that chance to say goodbye. They needed that closure. Like when you're breaking up from a relationship you really like. You need that closure. And this episode gave that to him, with it being a 2-parter, with him getting to see the 10th Doctor in action one last time, with them getting that extended ending of him saying goodbye. I know a lot of people don't like that extended ending of him, you know, before he regenerates. I love it. That very Lord of the Rings approach. I like it. I like the fact we get to see him getting his reward, seeing other companions saying goodbye. I love the music that plays. I love all of that. I enjoyed the I don't want to go line. Some people don't, but I do. Because the 10th Doctor loved being the 10th Doctor. I mean, imagine becoming someone else, you know, looking different in the mirror all those times, having your personality change, and still being you at your core, but, you know, there's still little quirks of you got to figure out. And doing that multiple times, and then finding a version of yourself you really like. And then not really getting long in it, if you really think about it. The 10th Doctor only lived about 5 or 6 years, if you think about it. Because Eccleston was 900 and Tennant was 906, so he really only got to live, say, 5 or 6 years as the 10th Doctor. So he was really happy with who he was. He'd really figured out who he was just to lose all that. And so I get that. And so his final line makes sense to me of not wanting to regenerate. And it also works outside of universe, because a lot of fans didn't want him to go either, so they knew that would pull at the heartstrings. I liked that. I liked John Sims' Master in this way better than I did his Series 3 version. I like his look with the blonde hair. His powers are interesting. The CGI on his Skeletor head has not aged well. I love having Wilf back. I love having Wilf so active in this story because I just love Bernard Crimmins in that role. I love Wilf. He's so great. This one has a really good budget too, it looked like. I mean, just a lot going on with it. I love the music in this episode. I love the confrontations between the Master and the Doctor in this episode. I mean, the Master's plan is kind of bonkers to make everyone him. That's kind of silly. But, you know, I can handle that. Why not? It's the Master. He has some silly plans. I enjoyed that a lot. Both of the actors playing the Cactus People are really, really good as well. It's a good story. And next on the list is Human Nature and the Family of Blood. This is a great two-parter. Of course, originally a 7th Doctor story in novelization form, or in novel form, adapted for Series 3. It fits the 10th Doctor well, though. I love that David Tennant gets to basically play a new character in Doctor Who, playing John Smith, which he performs wonderfully, I might add. I really like the casting of this one, especially Son of Mine. The actor playing Son of Mine is really good. You swear he never blinks. I mean, I'm sure he does, but like my memory of it is he never blinks. He just has this way, one, how he kind of holds his head slightly off kilter, and the way he does his facial expressions of just being something that's not human, something that's masquerading as a human, that's puppeteering a human body, but is definitely not human. He gets that across really well in his performance. My hat's off to him. The rest of the family is also well done. Mother of Mine, before and after she becomes Mother of Mine, she's good. Father of Mine's good. Daughter of mine, sister of mine, whatever it is she's good. Well, you know, little girl, she's really good. The actress playing John Smith's love interest, she's really good in this. I like her in it a lot. Martha gets a lot to do in this. I really like the character development with her. I like the fact the Doctor trusts her enough to leave that kind of responsibility in her hands. The other actor, the younger one who has the watch, I know he's gone on to do other stuff, and I believe he's a pretty popular actor now. He does a really good job in this. I love the setting in World War I. It just comes together really well. It's a good two-parter as well, and part 2 definitely lives up to part 1. You feel the real anguish when John Smith realizes he basically has to die, and that whole scene when he's upset about it, and when he sees the possible future he could have with kids and all that. It's just heart-wrenching. It's well performed. It's well written. The music that plays there is really good. I can't remember the name of it, but I have the CD for it somewhere. Murray Gold does a great job with the music in this. And then the ending of it, when we realize the Doctor is back and we see the rage of the Time Lord, I can see how this novel was definitely written originally for 7, because that rage of the Time Lord thing is very much 7. What he does to punish them, that's very much the 7th Doctor. But it fits well with the 10th Doctor too, because he does have a darker side when pushed too far. And the scene at the end when their ship blows up and you just see him looking down on them, and it cuts to that close-up of him and he just looks up right at the camera. So good. So intimidating. And how that look on his face as he's punishing all of them, locking her in the mirror, putting the dad up in chains, leaving Son of Mine as a scarecrow, just that look on his face of almost indifference. It's reminds you, and Son of Mine talking, why this person who had battled all these people in one, why he ran from us, he was being kind. It's so good. This is definitely one that's always good to go back and revisit. Series 3 is just so good. It's easily the best Modern Who has ever done, and this two-parter is one of the reasons why. Next on the list is The Beast Below. I really enjoy this one. I think more than most do. I like the actress playing Liz Ten a lot. I like her character. This is really Amy's first time in the TARDIS, Matt Smith's second episode. I just love watching him figure things out, like the bit he does with the glasses with the water, seeing the engines weren't running, and just trying to figure out the mystery of what's happening. Watching the 11th Doctor get angry, his 6th Doctor showing when he does his "Nobody human has anything to say to me today." I love that bit. It's really neat because you're trying to get kind of a handle on the 11th Doctor at this point. You're still trying to figure him out since it's only his 2nd episode. And his anger at Amy about, "I'm taking you home as soon as this is over." And then once he realizes she was right, because it's Amy who figures out the problem, because she sees the parallels between the Star Whale and the Doctor, something old and kind and the last of its kind. I love that. I love the parallel there. And how he does give her the hug at the end because he realizes she was right and that she saved everyone. It's really well done. It's a very underrated story in my opinion. I really like The Beast Below. Next on the list, just missing out of the top 20, just missing out, is Wild Blue Yonder. And as I mentioned with the other 60th specials, I could see this one possibly moving down the list as time goes on. It could just be some recency bias. But I did enjoy this one a lot. It had a nice tone to it. It had a nice atmosphere to it. I actually thought the special effects looked good. I know some people have bemoaned the CGI. I think the CGI looked good. I really enjoyed the interior of the ship with the long hallway. I love the very Marvin the robot looking robot, which very much made me think of Marvin. I love that. A nice little nod to Douglas Adams, who of course wrote for Doctor Who and script edited Doctor Who for a season. I enjoy that. I love the plan of the episode. The astronaut, the captain, the astronaut who had died, the plan she set in motion. I like that. I enjoy the not things. I love the fact that it doesn't really explain what they are, how they came to be, where they're from, and how they can mimic the Doctor and stuff. I love that. I love that there's no explanation there. I love the bit when the Doctor and Donna are in different rooms and the other things walk up and you don't realize they're the other things at first. Because I knew something was up. When David Tennant just walked in and sat down, something seemed off about him. I knew something was going on. So when you see the scenes alternating, I knew something was going on. I wasn't expecting the bit with the arm that's too long. I love the fact they did that with practical effects, by the way. I love the behind-the-scenes footage of that. It's fantastic and really well done. I just liked them as characters and how they were becoming more and more human-like or Time Lord-like. I enjoyed that. I love the scenes when the Doctor and Donna are interacting with the not things but not realizing they're the not things. That's happening at the same time. The two scenes are intercutting, whereas Tennant's is done more sadder and melancholy, and Catherine's is done a little more humorously, like the bit with the necktie. I enjoyed that a lot. It's excellent performances from them because they're basically having to play two characters each. I love the performances. I love the ending with Wilf, getting to see Wilf back one last time. That put such a smile on my face. I wish we could have gotten more with Bernard, but I was happy we got that scene. It was just so wonderful to see him again. I really enjoyed this one. It came together really well. It was easily my favorite of the 60th specials we got, easily. Just a really, really good episode. Moving into the top 20, we are going to be looking at Rose, the episode that started modern Doctor Who, and it is a good one. There's so much going on in it. There's a few of the special effects that have not aged well, and the bit with the garbage can eating Mickey, it kind of played for laughs. It kind of works, it kind of doesn't. It's a great introduction, though. It does a good job of doing what a first episode of Doctor Who needs to do. It gets the ball moving. It introduces you to the concept of the show and everything you really need to know to get on board with the show. And it entertains. I love the introduction of Rose. I love the introduction of the Ninth Doctor when he grabs her hand, looks at her, and just goes, "Run!" I love that. And that bit about, "I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name?" "Rose." "Tyler." "Oh, it's nice to meet you, Rose." "Run for your life." I love that. I absolutely love Christopher Eccleston in this episode. He is just phenomenal. He has his serious moments in the role, his kind of sad moments where you know there's something up with him, even though it doesn't address the Time War yet. And he also has his really comedic moments. He has a wonderful blend of all of those things, and a very different take on the Doctor with his more restrained outfit. I love that we get the regeneration bit when he looks in his face and he's like, not bad. Kind of a callback to Tom Baker's Doctor and Robot. I love him watching him try to play with the cards and they flip everywhere. Him reading the book. Not bad. I love all of that. I love the scene when the hand is choking him. But the way Eccleston does it kind of plays it for comedy when she's not seeing him. I mean, he's... I don't know. It's just funny. And then the hand sees her and it's like... the bit with the Ferris wheel, when he's not seeing the Ferris, something big, round, right here. Why can't I see it? It's hilarious. But it also has its very serious moments, like when he takes her hand and he talks about feeling the movement of the earth. It brings back a classic villain in the Autons, which is fantastic. It's nice that it brings back a classic villain, but not like one of the overly well-known classic villains. It's not the Daleks, you know, it's not the Cybermen. I like that they went with the Autons. That felt like an excellent choice. And it's done really well. It's just a really good first episode. So much was riding on that first episode, and it pulled it off so well. It reminds me a lot of Spearhead from Space in many ways, actually. They both execute very well for soft reboots, or what retroactively we label as soft reboots. Next on the list is Can You Hear Me? And yes, look at Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor sneaking into the top 20 here. I like Can You Hear Me a lot. I raved about it when I reviewed it a few months back. I raved about it when I ranked the Whittaker era. It is a great episode. I really like both the people playing the kind of godlike deities. They're both good, but especially the guy, because we see more of him. He's just creepy. You know, his look, his tone of voice, the way he talks. He's just so good in the role. Now, the other one, she's also good. We don't get as much time with her, but it's like she's evil in a different way. It's neat that they're two different types of evil. They complement each other well, but they're two different types of evil. That's fascinating. And the fact that she's actually the more powerful of the two, that's interesting. Whereas the Doctor was more aware of him, like she had heard of him in legends. It's like, but that's just a myth. And he's like, I blush. I love the conversation between her and the Doctor, especially on his side. She needs to be quiet more. Let him talk. Now, to be fair to Whittaker, she has one of her best moments in this episode. I'll get to that. I like the fact that the Doctor accidentally kind of causes the problem here. And that's not me throwing shade at 13. The Doctor is notorious for this, for accidentally causing bigger problems or problems for herself later down the line. Many incarnations of the Doctor do this. That does kind of happen here. The fingers bit with the fingers in the ears seem a little unnecessary and kind of but I do like that we get some character growth for Ryan with him reconnecting with one of his friends, and kind of seeing one of the downsides of traveling with the Doctor is that it kind of cuts you off perhaps from your family and your friends, because the Doctor doesn't always drop people off right back when they left like she should. And seeing that disconnect and seeing Ryan kind of feeling one of the cons of traveling with the Doctor. There's a lot of pros to traveling with the Doctor, but there's also some cons. And that's one of the cons, is that you kind of lose touch with other people. And seeing him have to kind of rekindle that connection with his friend, which he does at the end. I like that. Also, the actor playing his friend is really good. I liked him in this. We get backstory for Yaz. It's lovely seeing some character development for Yaz in this, and seeing her interactions with the police officer in this one. That was really neat. The actress playing the officer is fine. She doesn't get a lot to do, but she's fine. So I like that we get development on Yaz. We get some stuff with Graham. I really like that the companions get some growth here. That was really neat. I absolutely love Whittaker's speech at the end when she confronts the gods and stops them. That is quite possibly her best moment in the role. Because Whittaker, while I'm not a big fan of her Doctor at all, she does have moments where she really shines in the role. And she does in this one. Because that is... I don't always agree with the Doctor being able to face down gods, because that's a little overpowered for the Doctor for me. But it is done well here. I love how confident she is. That's the confidence I like to see from the Doctor. I love how confident she is here when she's like, puny gods, basically. When she's like, I can stop you. I'm the Doctor. You need to stop and surrender right now. And then she does. I love the way Whittaker plays that scene. She's very good in it. Quite possibly her best moment in the role. And then she does stop them. Now, it's a little Deus Ex Machina that the Sonic can hack the fingers. That's the weak point of the story. The Sonic, the thing that can't hack wood wooden doors, but it can hack the fingers of gods. That's a little silly and a bit of a stretch, I will admit. It's the one flaw to the episode, really. Other than that, especially being just a 45-minute episode, they kind of have to Deus Ex Machina the ending. They just kind of have to. I really think this story would have worked better in the Classic Who format. It's like a two-parter, or excuse me, a four-parter. In the Classic Who format as a four-parter, like half-hour episodes in 4 parts, I felt like the story would have had room to breathe, and I think we could have gotten a better, well-written ending. But as it is, other than that Deus Ex Machina ending, I think it's really, really good. I really enjoy that one. My last rewatch of it. I loved my first watch through of it, but that rewatch of it really blew me away. Really good episode. Next on the list is Planet of the Dead. I like Planet of the Dead. It's my favorite of the David Tennant specials from 2009. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's another one of those, I know a lot of people aren't as keen on it, but I find it fun. I think it's great. I feel like David Tennant and the Michelle Ryan have great chemistry. I love the character of the lady Cthulhu or whatever her name is. I don't remember. But I like her a lot. I love the Doctor traveling with a thief like that, which I believe was a companion they were thinking about bringing in if they had done a season 27 of Classic Who. I think that's what they were going to do, is like a cat burglar. So I love that. I love the fact that she doesn't do that for the money, because she has money. She comes from a family of money. She does it for the thrill and the adventure of it. I love that. With her Mission Impossible little setup where she can go down. I like her a lot. She would have made such a good regular companion, and I would love to see her come back to the show. Again, love the chemistry between the Doctor and her. They have great chemistry together. Almost a flirtatious banter, in the way that I like. I don't usually like romance between the Doctor and a companion, but every now and then there's a flirty banter there I like, and I really enjoy that between them here. I like the fact that the villains of the story, they're not really villains so much as they're just animals in their natural life cycle. They're a neat concept, by the way, and that's an interesting life cycle, kind of like how the alien in Aliens is an interesting life cycle. I love the military officer, the major. Isn't she a major? I like her in this. The actress playing her is really good. I love that bit. Did you just salute? And she's like, no. She's really good. Malcolm. I love Malcolm. I want Malcolm to come back. I like Osgood, but I want more Malcolm. The guy playing Malcolm is so good. I'm guessing he's probably a comedian in real life. He's really good. You named a unit of measurement after yourself? Well, it didn't do so bad for Mr. Watt now, did it? I love him. And even the rest of the guest cast, I enjoy them. I think they're good. It's a really, really well done, fun episode. I'd love to see Michelle Ryan back. Next on the list is Power of the Doctor. Another Jodie Whittaker episode popping into the top 20. This is my favorite Jodie Whittaker episode. I love Power of the Doctor. Is it perfect? No. Again, much like Day of the Doctor and the Five Doctors, the story's not the most perfect thing in the world, but it's so good. It feels like a celebration of Doctor Who. One of the reasons this is ranked higher than Day of the Doctor is because Power of the Doctor actually feels like a celebration of all of Doctor Who, not just modern Doctor Who, all of Doctor Who. It feels like a 60th anniversary special. It actually feels more like an anniversary special than any other special in modern Doctor Who. I love the Easter eggs. I love the callbacks. I love having Ace and Tegan back. It's so good to see them again. I love how it, in a logical way that makes sense, brings back previous Doctors, with Jodie Whittaker meeting the Guardians of the Edge and getting, David Bradley back as one, getting Colin back, getting Peter back, getting Paul McGann back. We always need more Paul McGann. Getting Sylvester back. I loved that scene, both of them, because there's 2 scenes with the Guardian on the Edge. I like them both. I love that Tegan and Ace get to interact with their doctors. I love the idea of the Doctor hologram. That's a really clever. It's a really clever way, because the 13th Doctor is sidelined in a bit of the episode when the Master is running around in her body. It's a good way to keep her in her final episode a lot by doing the hologram bit. So I like the bit with the hologram, and it also gives us an excellent excuse to have Tegan interact with her Doctor and Ace interact with her Doctor, with, of course, Davison and McCoy coming back to do those scenes. And both of those are lovely scenes, some wonderful closure, especially for Tegan, you know, that bit, what am I thinking seeing all these Cybermen run around? He's just like, Adric. You know, I love that. Both of those scenes really pull at my heartstrings and make me smile every time I watch them. They're beautifully done. I absolutely love Sacha Dhawan as the Master in this. He is completely off the wall. I enjoy the bit with the Rasputin song. I know it's a little over the top, but I thought it was hilarious, so it gets a pass. I love how even the Cyberman and the Dalek are looking at each other like, huh? I don't know why. I love it. I like the one Dalek that is genuinely trying to betray the other Daleks, because it feels like the Daleks have lost the Khaled way, which is kind of accurate, honestly. And the fact that that Dalek was genuine, he just didn't realize he was being used as bait in a trap. I enjoyed that. I love the callback to Dalek's master plan. The Cyber Dalek's master plan? The Master's Cyber Dalek plan? That's funny. It has little moments. It's fun. I love seeing the Master and all of the other Doctor's old outfits. That's just hilarious. It's a good episode. It's a nice send-off for 13. It's fun. It's fun. All the Easter eggs are hilarious. Sometimes it's a little over the top, but in a good way. I love watching Ace run into Graham. That's hilarious. When he's like, Volcano Inspector, friend of the Doctor. And he's like, I never get the hang of this. I'm Ace. Yes, you are. I love that bit. I love seeing that they've started a group where all the companions can kind of get together and talk, and seeing Mel and seeing Joe and seeing Ian, seeing William Russell at like 97 years old when he filmed that. That made my day, and set a Guinness Book World Record, I might add. That was beautiful to see. And then I love the fact that 13's farewell speech wasn't long. I like how they scaled back on. I actually really like her regeneration. One, she doesn't regenerate in the TARDIS. I like that. And I love the fact that her kind of final speech is kind of short. I actually really enjoy her final speech about, I want to see what happens next, and tag your... I enjoy that. And then the regeneration itself is really good. I like that regeneration with an excellent cliffhanger. It's not the best story in the world, but it's so much fun to watch. That's why it ranks this high. And next on the list, and I did mention in the original first video this would be here, is Night of the Doctor. I did mention that we would have one mini episode. It would be Night of the Doctor. When I started this list, Night of the Doctor is just so good, and it's such essential watching that it has to be on the list. First off, Paul McGann is phenomenal. Like it just slips back into the role so well. But he also, since he's playing an older version of the character who's been through the events of the Time War, it's neat how different his Doctor was from the TV movie version. How much everything that his Doctor has been through has affected him and changed his character and personality. I love that. But he is still on fire in this. 4 minutes, that's an eternity. What if I get bored? You know, anyone for just bring me knitting. I love that. The Keepers of the Flame of Utter Boredom. Eternal Life, that's the one. I love Paul McGann in this. Everyone else in it is fine. I have no issues with it. It's a great way for us to get more screen time with the 8th Doctor and give us an actual closure as to what happened to him, because that's always been the mystery, what happened to the 8th Doctor. It gives us closure to his Doctor, and it's just well executed. The set design looks good on Karn and on the ship. Seeing the shot of the War Doctor, the reflection of the younger John Hurt in there, which lets you realize just how long the War Doctor was around fighting, that he aged that much. It's just wonderful. And essential watching. You have to see Night of the Doctor. If you're a Doctor Who fan, before you watch Day of the Doctor, you need to watch Night of the Doctor. It is essential Doctor Who watching. So it had to be on this list, and I adore this mini episode. So I feel it deserves its placement where it's at. And number 15 on the list is School Reunion, the episode that brought back Sarah Jane. I love this episode. One, it brings back Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane is my favorite companion, and Elizabeth Sladen plays this so well. She is just phenomenal as Sarah Jane. I can understand exactly why she got her spin-off show. She was such a good actress, and she played this character, this older version of a character, so well, and she just runs through such a gauntlet of emotions in it, and she pulls it all off. I love the chemistry between her and David Tennant, and the chemistry between her and the 10th Doctor is really good. The scene when she finds the TARDIS and the camera pans around and he's standing behind her. First of all, that's a beautiful shot. When the camera pans around, you just see Tennant standing behind her. Beautiful camera work there. Love that shot. The whole conversation they have there is mwah. It is perfection. I love it. I love it's a little, I love and don't love the friction between Rose and Sarah. Like, I love part of it. I don't love the other part of it, but I love the fact they put it behind them and then they start getting on. I love when they're kind of comparing adventures they went on. The Loch Ness Monster, really? And then they just have a laugh over it. I love that. But then they then they start having the jokes about the Doctor about, does he still lovingly stroke parts of the TARDIS? Yes. And then when he walks up and he's like, what? And they just look at him and start laughing. I love that. I love that. I love the fact they got, what is it, Anthony Head? Is that his name? The guy who, of course, played in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who plays the principal, the dean, whatever it is. I love him. He's great. He is perfectly cast in this. I love how he plays the headmaster of the school. He's just phenomenally good. I perfectly enjoy that. The CGI on the bat creatures has aged roughly. I mean, as a Doctor Who fan, I can let that go. But let's be honest, it's aged kind of roughly. But I love them as a concept and in the story. It's so wonderful to see K9 back and to have John voicing K9 again. I absolutely love seeing K9. And when K9 sacrifices himself at the end, I still felt it. Even though it's the Mark III, not the one I'm used to seeing in the show. And even though I know they can build another one, it's still a K9. And I still felt it. That scene when he's talking to Tennant, and Tennant's like, I can't let you do that. No other options. It tugs at the heartstrings. Just like I love the scene when he's actually, K9's facing the headmaster, and he's like, you're a bad doggy. Affirmative. I love that. I just love the snark in that. Affirmative. I love that scene. It's a touching scene. And the bit when Sarah Jane reminds him, everything has its time and everything ends, whether it's a world or a relationship, which with Elizabeth gone and in canon Sarah gone, that delivery, those lines take on a whole new meaning and a whole new melancholy feel to me. They mean so much more to me with Elizabeth and Sarah gone now. But it's a beautiful line to shake the Doctor out of that possible temptation he was facing there at the time. It's a really, really good episode. I absolutely love it. And next on the list is the Lazarus Experiment. I like this one more than most. Again, I love Series 3. Series 3 is so good. No bad stories. Mark Gatiss is great playing Lazarus. The aged makeup for him looks really well. Looks really good. The biggest nitpick for it is the CGI of the creature when Lazarus morphs into the creature. The CGI has dated badly. This is the prime example I go to when people back in the early days of Modern Who would be like, well, I love Modern Who, but I can't get into Classic Who because those Classic Who special effects are so bad. I'd point to Lazarus Experiment and go, but the story makes up for it for me. I like, of course, Martha and David are great. Freeman and David are great. The guest cast are good. I enjoy the story. It does go on a little too long, like the bit where it's like they capture him and then he escapes in the ambulance or whatever. That it seems like it's like they stop him twice. I do the bit I do like when he says, I need to turn it up to 11, talking about the Sonic, because it's a nice little like nod to Spinal Tap. I love that. And him actually playing the organ's pretty cool. I do like that. It's a fun episode. I recognize the actress playing his assistant too, the older lady kind of playing his assistant. I know her. I can't remember if she's the one who plays Aunt May in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been so long since I watched it. But I like her in it. It's a good episode, a fun episode. It feels like a very Doctor Who episode. I love the fact that the creature isn't like an alien. It's just humans trying to play God. Again, kind of like The Fly, getting in over your head and accidentally having an unintended side effect. This is kind of like Doctor Who's version of The Fly in a way. And I love that because I love The Fly. And I really like this episode. It's really good. Next on the list is Victory of the Daleks. This is a very underrated one. Is this episode perfect? No. It has some flaws, but it's a lot of fun. a lesser version of Power of the Daleks, let's be honest. There's definitely some influence here, but I've raved about this episode before. One, I love the guy playing Churchill. I like him as an actor in general. He was in White Noise, which is not a good movie, but him and Michael Keaton are great in it. He was a good Baron Harkonnen, though not as good as the 1984 guy was. And just in general, I like him as an actor when I see him and stuff. And he's really good as Churchill. He just nails being Churchill down to me, just how I picture Churchill. I like it. I love the fact that I love the idea of Winston Churchill and the Doctor just being old buddies. Just like they could share a beer together. Churchill sees him. He's like, oh, you've changed your face again. How have you been? When are you going to let me in that box and have a tour? Doctor, I could use it for the war. I love that. Just they have this camaraderie and friendship and bond that you only develop over time with people. And I absolutely love that. I would love to see more episodes with Churchill. I want that. I enjoy how they bring the Daleks back. I actually like the Daleks, especially early on in the episodes when they have the kind of older style with the British symbols on it. I like how they trick the Doctor and the Doctor falls for it. The Doctor kind of causes the problems here, really, if you think about it. I love his speech when his rage comes out when he sees the Dalek. Like when he's banging it with the, wow, bang, I'm the Doctor and you are the Daleks. That whole bit when he gets mad and just starts hitting it. I love that. I love the fact that the Daleks con the Doctor. The whole bit with the new Doctor, with the new Daleks being created is all because the Doctor messes up, and I love that. The new Paradigm Daleks, I was not a fan of their design originally, and for a while, but it doesn't bother me now. They're fine. I like the fact they're taller. I like the fact they have the different colors going on. I like the fact they're kind of a callback to the Cushing movies. And I like the fact that they had unique weapons on the back of them. We never saw that in the show, but I've read about where each one was supposed to be able to rotate around and they had a different thing on their back they could use as weapons and stuff. That was a pretty cool idea. And I love the fact that each different one had its function. I wouldn't mind seeing a return of the Paradigm Daleks actually now. I'm on board with them. I like the fact that the guy who invented them, who reminds me a lot of Lesterson, he almost seems like an homage to Lesterson from Power. Honestly, just the look of him. When he's like, I created you. And they're like, no, we created you. That was a neat little twist I didn't see coming. I liked that. I love the fact the Daleks win. The Daleks get away. It's called Victory of the Daleks. I love a story where the Daleks get over on the Doctor. And they do here. And I love that. Because with the Doctor always beating them and them showing up so much in Modern Who, it kind of ruins the danger and the effect of having the Daleks there when they're constantly getting beaten. The Daleks are back. The Doctor will stop them. So when you, like with Classic Who, a lot of times when they would rest the Daleks, and don't get me wrong, the early to mid-60s used the Daleks a lot, let's be honest. But after that, there are times where they would take long breaks with the Daleks. There wasn't a Dalek story from, 67 to 72? Tom Baker only fought the Daleks twice in his 7-year run. So there are these gaps in there, which kind of makes it, when they do come back, it hits harder. And I think having a story where the Daleks win adds to that, and I like that. About the only time Moffat really got the Daleks right. He didn't know how to use them well. I enjoy this one, and I like the fact the Doctor tries to threaten him with, was that a jammy Dodger or whatever it is he's holding. Don't try me, sweetheart, or whatever it is he says. It's a good episode. My biggest problem, though, and it is the one thing that has me going, some of you know what it is. I've talked about it before on the channel many times. The World War II planes in space. That's just silly. The idea that World War II planes, first off, could get to space, could survive in space, that the way they're designed would make them fly properly in space, and that they would have laser guns that could hurt a Dalek ship. And then that they could re-enter the atmosphere. We're just going to nod and go, it's Doctor Who. And again, even with that just being not quite the moon is an egg moment, but still pretty jumping the shark. Still, I love this episode. It's obviously ranked this high. That is the one thing where I'm like, but other than that, it's a flawed but a very enjoyable episode. Next on the list is Midnight. I think a lot of people agree this one is a classic. Now, I didn't like this one for a long time, but my last rewatch, it really grew on me, especially now that I've kind of grown out of my Tennant fanboyism, because he was my solid number 2 for a long time. I can really get into the meat of this episode. It is written well, it is directed well, and it is performed well. It is very well executed. I love the guest cast. I love the fact they get David Troughton in there, who is also a classic alum himself, not just Patrick Troughton's son. He's great. I like the stewardess in it, the one that ends up saving the day at the end. I like her. Seeing all of these people who are in over their heads, and the doctor trying to be Mr. Smarty Pants like some of the doctors do, it gets him in trouble here. That's kind of what turns everyone else against him, is he acts too smart. What's your name? John Smith. That's not your name. That's not a real name. I love that. It's him trying to take control of the situation and act like he knows everything that kind of backfires on him here. Whereas, you know, Troughton would have played that differently. I mean, let's be honest, Hartnell, Capaldi, and John would have also gotten themselves screwed in that situation. But some of the others, especially Troughton, he would have just played dumb. I like it. I love Troughton, how he just pretends like he doesn't know near as much as he does about what's going on. But I love the use of shadow in this. Shadow and lighting is really well done in this. I love the atmosphere of it. I love the tension. I love the mystery behind the entity. And we don't even know what it is. It's the Midnight Entity. That's one of the reasons this works, is we don't know. It's because you don't always need to know the origin. You don't need all the blanks filled in. It's what makes the episode interesting. It's interesting because it's just the Midnight Entity. Well, what is it? I love that. I like listening to the pilots. Did you see that? Well, I thought I saw something move over there. I love the look of the planet where it just looks like diamond and crystal or whatever. That's a cool, eerie looking. There's something spooky about the way that planet looks. It just looks unnatural. And then the bit when the thing is knocking on the walls, building tension with the 3 knocks. And then when Tennant knocks 4 times, it knocks 4 times. And then the bit when it dents the wall and sends it flipping. And then realizing something is up with Skye, the actress playing Skye. First off, you know, when she's still Skye, she's good. But when she becomes the entity, my hat's off to her. She is great in that role. Just what she does with her eyes and her facial expressions. Very, very good. Tennant also deserves some praise for when he can't move, when he's just repeating what she says. The look on his face, like he's trying to break through, but he can't. He's like, I can't. You know, the way he does it with his face, like he's trying really hard to fight it, but he can't. Really good performance. And just watching as this creature learns and advances, how it's talking after all of them, then how it's talking after just him, then it's talking the same time as him, and then it overtakes him. It's a fascinating gradual process. And it's nice seeing a situation where the doctor doesn't have all the answers, and even at the end of it, the doctor doesn't have all the answers. We don't know if this thing died either, because it survived out there before they came. So they may have stopped it, but they may not have killed it. Who knows? All of the mysteries behind the entity not being answered is what makes this episode so memorable. And then, of course, the stewardess having to save the day. It's not the doctor saving the day. It's just a guest actor who is a very selfless person, much like the doctor, sacrificing herself to save everyone else, including the doctor. I like that. And that bit at the end about, what was her name? I don't know. That's some interesting social commentary on the workforce, especially as someone who's worked in restaurants a lot. That's definitely some good commentary there, that nobody knew her name. She was just, you know, a faceless person there to help them. That's very good commentary. And it's not even like, it's not done in your face. It's very subtle. Just, what was her name? I don't know. I never asked. They didn't even have to have that in the episode, but the fact they did is a nice little touch. My biggest problem with the episode that I mentioned before is just that it's a Dr. Donna episode we could have had and didn't get, because I love the Doctor and Donna together. But because we got this episode, which is very Tennant heavy, it's an episode. There's an episode of the Dr. Donna we didn't get, we could have had, which is another reason I love the 60th anniversary specials, because I did get more Dr. Donna episodes like I always wanted. But Midnight, barring that, is very well written, very well performed, very well acted. Definitely another masterpiece of Doctor Who horror. Next on the list, just missing out on the top 10, is the Bells of St. John. Now, a lot of you know I like this one. It's fun. I like how it brings the Great Intelligence back. I like how it introduces the Doctor to this version of Clara. It's definitely got some humorous little bits in it. The bit with her saying Doctor Who and him like is a little weird, but I love the humor between. I love the little flirty nature they have, which is more. She feels like she's in control of that conversation, and he feels a little lost, and I love it. Well, you should be doing young people things, you know, like dancing. Dancing with you? Down, boy. And he's like, no. I love that scene. I love that scene so much. I love the bit when they're riding on the bike. I really like the music in this one. There's this bit when they're on the bike, and it just does this little bit where it's done. I love that. It's short, but I love it. I would love to see Hudson do a remake of that. It's a short little music right there, but I would love to see Hudson take it and like extend it to like a minute or a minute and a half. I bet he could do something fun with that. I really like the resolution, because I didn't see it coming, with him hacking the android of himself with the little spoon head. I never realized that because he's wearing the helmet when he's on the bike. I love that bit when he's talking to the Great Intelligence on the bike when it's as like the biker. He's like, won the anti-grav competition. Well, you'll never get up here. Did you even hear the part where I said anti-grav? And then the bit when he drives up there and he's confronting her and he's like, you're going to let them all go. Well, why would I do that? Because I'm going to motivate you. I love the way Matt Smith delivers that line. Because I'm going to motivate you. There is a self-confidence in that line that is very much the Doctor, and I love it. And then he does, and it's a great twist that I didn't see coming. I really enjoy it. And then the ties to the Great Intelligence at the end with Richard E. Grant are great, with him still being formless at the time, which I like. I really enjoy the Bells of St. John. It's so much fun to watch. It really is. So, moving into the top 10, the 10 best episodes of modern Doctor Who. And number 10 is Mummy on the Orient Express. This one just clicks so well. It is so well written, so well directed, so well performed. Peter Capaldi is amazing in this. Jenna Coleman is amazing in this. I love the guest castings. I really like the one engineer guy, the one at the end that the Doctor offers to let travel with him too. The guy playing him nails that. I love that. I love the mummy itself. I love the way it looks, its actual physical design. I love how it kills people. I love the clock ticking down on the screen every time, like 60 seconds. I love the effect of the creature. I love the actual scientific reason for why it exists. The fact that it isn't supernatural, that it is technological. That's fascinating. I love when Doctor Who can take, that old saying about, technology at a certain advanced level appears like magic to, a society that doesn't understand it. I love that that's really put into play here, that something that we would perceive as supernatural is explained scientifically. I love that because it's a science fiction show, first and foremost. It's got a lot of good action scenes in it. I love the tension between Clara and 12 here, because this is right after Kill the Moon and them having to resolve that. I like the fact we never actually find out the person who's holding them hostage, the voice they hear on the train. I don't think the Doctor ever found them. I want to follow up where the Doctor goes after that guy. Like that guy tries to trap the Doctor again, and the Doctor goes after him. I want that. Peter Capaldi's performance is so good. I love the bit when he finally sees the mummy. He goes, hello, I will be your victim this evening. Are you my mummy? I love the Are You My Mummy callback. I love when they call back to the empty child with that, just like they did in the Centauran stratagem. I love that. It's got everything going in it. Everything. Such good performances. So well directed. Suspense, horror, mystery. A ticking clock. I love it. Number 9 on the list is Utopia. I love Utopia. This really feels like an episode of Doctor Who. I love having Derek Jacobi, I don't know how you say his name, but he's a great actor. I love his Professor Yana, and I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the spoilers in case for some reason you don't know. So, spoiler alert, the Professor is, of course, the Master. And that, it's done so well building him up as the Professor that when he does become the Master, you feel that loss, especially since the Doctor and the Professor were bonding to see Professor Yana become the Professor and see how that ties in with what the Face of Bo said about "you are not alone." All that comes together well. I like the character of Chantho and the interesting way she speaks. I love when aliens have their own kind of quirks about how they talk, their own dialect that they talk. That's pretty fascinating. The actress playing her does a good job too, and the makeup on her is done very, very well. The set design looks good. I like the idea of the future kind or whatever they're calling, how they want to get in. And how the Doctor is... I love how the Doctor's just in awe of humans here. I don't always like how he does that, how he's just... The humans are the greatest thing ever. But I don't always like that. But this is one of those times when I do like that. That he has so much pride in them just because they keep going. They find a way to survive. I love that. I love having Captain Jack back. I love John Barrowman playing Jack. He's so good in that role. And I just like Jack as a character. I like us learning about why Jack is the way he is and how he can't be fixed because of the way Rose brought him back. And just the actual events when Professor Yana becomes the Master again is so good. I really like the conversation between the Doctor and Professor Yana when they're working on the project to fix it. And he's calling the Professor brilliant, and they had that wonderful conversations. You would have been very rare, even my title's just a little... not even real. There hasn't been, a university in 1,000 years. And he's like, no, in other times you would be revered as a genius. If those galaxies hadn't been destroyed, those darn galaxies. I love the little rapport they're forming there, kind of a friendship. So it's even more interesting when the Doctor realizes there could be another Time Lord. I mean, just that whole scene when he sees the TARDIS and he's hearing the echoes in his head. And he's holding the watch, and then she turns it over, and it's the fob watch, and us as the audience are going, is it who I think it is? Is it who I think it is? And you can just hear the building. And then, of course, when you hear the, kill him, and you shall give your power to me, which, of course, is from the Daemons. Now, I didn't know that at the time, because I saw Utopia before I saw the Daemons, long before I saw the Daemons. But I knew that it was a previous Doctor, and I knew it was probably Delgado's Doctor. It sounded like Delgado's Doctor to me, so I was like, and then of course immediately saying, open me and receive my majesty. I was like, oh snap. And then when he does that literal heel turn, just the look on his face and his eyes, when you see those eyes, Derek's such a good actor. And just, I love his version of the Master. I wish we had more time with it. I know he's in Big Finish. And I hear he's a great Master in Big Finish. I've heard the War Master is one of the best. But just the brief time we get with him is the only time we've ever had a classic Master in Modern Who. Because he really does feel like an even more evil version of Delgado's Master. Like Delgado's Master off the leash, like with a dark edge. Like he does have this kind of sophisticated, classy speak, never mind, my dear. Like the fact he doesn't kill Chantho immediately. He just kind of ignores her because he doesn't see her as a threat. Whereas he could have just killed her, but he didn't. He's just kind of ignoring her and doing what he's doing. And then I do like when she's holding the gun on him, he's like, oh, now I can say it was provoked. It just feels like a classic Master to me. It's the only time in Modern Who I've had that. And he's one of my favorite Masters, actually. Probably my second favorite Master. He's so good. The regeneration effect is neat, and it has a nice cliffhanger ending. I really like Utopia. It's really, really good. Next on the list is Thin Ice, my second favorite Capaldi story. I've raved about this one so many times. This is definitely one of the best like historicals in modern Doctor Who. It's so much fun. This is the one where Bill really starts to learn more about the Doctor. I love the conversation when they're talking, and she's like, "Have you seen someone die before?" And he's like, "Eh." She's like, "Have you ever killed anyone?" And he's kind of like, "Eh." She's like, how come you don't seem to care at all?" And then he's like, "Because then more people die." It's very reminiscent of when in Pyramids of Mars, when the Fourth Doctor is talking to Sarah Jane, and Sarah Jane's, "You don't even seem to care that, Professor Scarman's brother is dead, killed by his brother, and, and the Tom Baker has to tell her it's not just his death. There are 5 dead bodies, counting the professor himself. I know. I don't have time to deal with that now because I'm dealing with the potential death of billions." And that's exactly what the Doctor means here, because if I take the time to grieve, then more people die. I have to move past that so I can save the people I can still try to save. I enjoy that. It shows the death of a kid on screen. That's chilling. You don't get that much. When the kid's running away with the Sonic and then you just see the hand in the ice and the hand gets... That's so cool. I love the fact they were brave enough to do that. That was cool, because in Doctor Who, anyone can die. Unless you're a modern series companion, apparently. That's pretty cool. Well, that's all right then. I enjoyed this one. I love the bit when he's telling Bill, "Okay, we're going to be diplomatic about this," and he ends up just punching the guy in the face. It's such a fun episode, and it looks... BBC does historicals so well. The dress, the look of the period, it almost feels like you're there, and I love that. It's such a fun episode. Next on the list is The Girl in the Fireplace. I've raved about this one before. First off, the actress playing Madame de Pompadour is fantastic. She is great. Her and Tennant have such good chemistry. Her character and the 10th Doctor have such good chemistry. I love just the kind of bond, the rapport they have so quickly. I love the design of the clockwork creatures in this. The way they look even without their disguise, and the way they look in their disguise. That's an excellent creature design. I love the way they move. I love the design of the mask, but the way they move, the kind of unnatural way they move. I love the ticking sounds when they move and the ticking sounds they make like a clock. I love that, like they're a wind-up creature. I absolutely adore that. The ship set design looks kind of standard, kind of like something you see in Classic Who, actually. I like it a lot. I like the idea, much like I talked about in Deep Breath, that part of what happens here to make things go wrong is because the ship wasn't programmed as well as it should have, and a computer only knows what you tell it. So when it needs parts, no one ever told it. The crew wasn't on the menu. So the idea of someone not thinking, "Hey, we need to make sure this can't hurt the crew," is what caused the problems. Much like in Deep Breath, because the computer only knows what you tell it. That's fascinating to me. I enjoyed the ending with her dying and him being solemn about it. Tennant does sad-faced Doctor so well, and Rose knowing he needs some free time. I like that part when she's, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "I'm always all right." And he's lying, and Mickey's like, "Why don't you show me the ship?" That melancholiness fits really well, that once again the Doctor had lost someone that he had a very strong rapport with and wanted to take with him. I really like that ending. I really love the incidental music. I've talked about that a lot. One of the reasons this episode ranks so high is the incidental music is so good, especially that Madame de Pompadour theme. I have the Series 1 and 2 soundtrack. I love that theme. It's such a beautiful piece of music. I love the different variations of it that play throughout the episode. If they ever did a soundtrack just for this episode and put it on iTunes, I would buy it, because I love those different versions of the theme so much. It's definitely one of the reasons why it's as high as it is that soundtrack, aside from me just really liking the episode as well. It does have the gaping plot hole of why didn't they just go back in the TARDIS? I mean, they try to address it with, "Oh, we can't do that. We're caught up in events now." Not the first time that's happened, to be honest, but I don't know. It feels like a cop-out. It feels like he should have just been able to get in the TARDIS, go, and pop back. It seems like they had to force it that way to, one, make him think he was stuck, two, to get him back to the future on their terms. and why he couldn't go back to the TARDIS or go back in the TARDIS later at the proper time, and he had to go back accidentally after she had died. Like I said, it's a gaping plot hole. You could march an army through it. But that aside, you know, just ignoring that, it's a phenomenal piece of Doctor Who television. Next on the list, just missing out of the top 5, is Heaven Sent. Peter Capaldi's best episode, in my opinion. He is basically playing a one-man show here. I love this episode. Of course, it is dealing with things like grief. It's a nice allegory for dealing with grief and the different stages of it. But I never feel like it's lecturing that to me. It never gets in the way of that being a really good story. And again, Capaldi proves why he's one of the best actors to ever play the role. Even though the 12th Doctor is more in the middle of my list because I don't really get into his style of Doctor typically, Peter Capaldi is definitely one of the best actors to step into the shoes of the Doctor. He is so good here, just a tour de force to watch. I love the writing of this story. Stephen Moffat, again, when Stephen Moffat is firing on all cylinders, he's one of the top 3 best writers the show has ever had, top 5 easily. I love the execution of the story. It's directed well. I love the imagery of it being in the castle, the moving parts, the look of the thing that's stalking him being so creepy and unnerving. I love the shock jump scares and spots like when he's digging in the grave and it burst out after him because he lost track of time. It's just everything comes together so well here. It's a shame that Heaven Sent's a bit of Hellbent is such a letdown afterwards. Hellbent's not necessarily total crap, but it's a huge letdown after Heaven Sent. I love the mystery of him figuring out what's going on, seeing all the different skulls, the bit of him seeing Clara in his head. I love the idea of him going to his mental TARDIS in these situations. I would like to see that again, actually. I would love for them to bring that back in the show. I love the idea that fast, because he's thinking so quickly that he goes into his mental TARDIS and works it out. I love that. I love the ending, the bit with the bird. Finding out the resolution to this story is so good. And of course, The Shepherd's Boy is such a wonderful piece of music. Again, the soundtrack in this one is really good, and I love that piece of music from Murray Gold. It really sells the ending scene well. It is one of the best Doctor Who episodes ever made. Easily one of the best modern Who episodes, and even just Doctor Who overall, it stands really high. My favorite Capaldi episode. Everyone should see Heaven Sent. Everyone. Number 5 on the list is The 11th Hour, my favorite Matt Smith episode. This episode just really hits the ground running. This is what every post-regeneration story should be, in the sense that it gets the Doctor moving. I don't tend to like when the Doctor is sidelined for a part of the story. I really like the Doctor to be going. That way we get a kind of a feel for this Doctor. I love the fact that he doesn't even get to change clothes until the end. He's pretty much still running around in what's left of his 10th Doctor outfit. Matt Smith just nails the role really quickly. I mean, from the instant you see his head kind of pop up out of the TARDIS, "Can I have an apple?" You're like, yeah. That already, just over the course of this episode, he convinced me he was the Doctor. I like the story. I love how it cleverly already forms a bond between Amy and the Doctor, with him meeting her as a child and him basically being her imaginary friend when he shows up again 12 years later. He's impacted her life so much that they already kind of have this bond between them. It's neat how it does that really fast. I like Karen Gillan as Amy a lot. I like Amy as a character. I also like Arthur as Rory, and I like Rory as a character. Because Rory just always feels like he's in a situation where he's in over his head. It's like, how do I get myself into these things? I really enjoy that. I feel like the 3 of them complement and contrast each other very well in their little trio they have. I like the fact we even get Olivia Colman here. I know it's just a little bit part. She hadn't quite hit her popularity yet, but it's nice that we have her here. I enjoy this one. A lot. The ending, too. First off, I also love the I Am the Doctor theme, and this is my favorite version of it. I love the I Am the Doctor theme. One of the best pieces of Doctor Who music ever. It's so epic, so good. And that ending scene, when he says I'm the Doctor, basically run, that's really his I am the Doctor moment. That is the moment. He had sold me the whole episode, but that was the one where he closed the deal. He closed the sale. because I'm sitting there going, yep, you're the Doctor. And stepping in right after Tennant, being the Doctor and the actor to replace Tennant is no easy task. That's like Peter having to replace Tom. But he does it. I mean, by the end, when he's saying that, I'm like, liking this new Doctor, totally buying him. And I enjoy that scene too. I like the fact that the aliens leave and he's like, give me your phone. Call him back. That's right. Yeah. Leaving is good. Never coming back is better. I like the fact that already this is the Doctor that doesn't take any crap. And so that whole bit when he's like, telling them, has this world broken any laws? And, is this world protected? Because you're not the first lot to have come here. Oh, there have been so many. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what happened to them? And I love how we're seeing, footage of the different creatures that we've been fought, including 2 or 3 shots from Classic Who. And then when he says, what happened to them? And it shows the previous Doctors. That's such an iconic moment when you see him step out of the camera and boom, there's Hartnell, Troughton, Baker, Davison, Baker, McCoy. And just when it shows all of them and getting that last shot of Tennant. And then, of course, Matt stepping through it and doing his I'm the Doctor. And then that confidence when he's like, basically, run. I love that scene. Love that scene. One of my favorite scenes in all of Doctor Who. It's so good. I used to go back and rewatch that scene so much. And then seeing the new TARDIS at the end. I actually really do like that TARDIS interior. I love the fact that it's just kind of all over the place. It's very asymmetrical and just kind of random. And I love that about it. It works really well. I feel like Matt's Doctor was the best in this episode, especially in Series 5. I love Series 5 Matt Smith. Matt Smith's my favorite modern Doctor. But he gets a little too caricaturish sometimes in Series 6 and 7. I really like him here. He's that perfect balance in Series 5, and especially in this episode of everything he needs to be. The 11th Hour is just such a fun romp, such a fun adventure, and objectively the best post-regeneration story we've ever gotten. Number 4 on the list is The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. Doctor Who does horror again, and it once again taking something normal and making it spooky as all get out. And that, of course, in this case is a child, making a child creepy and scary. And the way he looks, with the gas mask works really well because it gives you that kind of stare where you can't see its eyes, but the mask looks like its eyes. And then the way it talks to it, are you my mommy? Mommy? It's creepy. It's unnerving. The fact it takes place at night adds to that. Eccleston puts in such a good performance here. Billie Piper's putting in a good performance. The woman playing Nancy puts in a good performance. The introduction of Captain Jack, and I love him in this story. And I also like the guy playing the other Doctor. Is it Dr. Solomon or whatever his name is? I love the actor playing him. He's not in it long, but he's great. And of course, he pops back up at the end. I like him. I love the scene when the Dr. Solomon character is explaining to the Doctor what's happening. He's like, they're all dead. He's like, they're not dead. And he wraps the cane and they all sit up. He goes, injury as plague. And as the Doctor's doing the bit about the scar on the wrist, you see the scar on the Doctor's wrist as he looks at it. That whole scene is just eerie and creepy. And then it leads into the scene of them coming after him, and he does that bit about go to your room. First off, that's a great cliffhanger. The cliffhanger to episode 1 is so good. I love that. And I love his comment when it works of, I'm glad that worked. Those would have been terrible last words. That's very the Doctor. I love it. And then when they find his room later with the recordings, and it's like, what's that sound? Oh, that's the sound of the reel. It ran out 15 seconds ago. I told him to go to his room. This is his room. I love that. So many good moments. I love, it has some humorous bits too, like when Jack is explaining where he got his sonic gun from, and he's like, oh yeah, the something or another yards. He's like, the Doctor's like, yeah, I've been there once. He goes, oh, it's just a banana grove now, it was destroyed. And the Doctor's like, yeah, like I said, once. I like bananas. Bananas are good. I love that line. I like bananas. Bananas are good. And then he swaps his ray gun with a banana. I love that scene. I love the bit in the beginning of the story when he's in the nightclub. Has anyone seen anything about something falling from the sky? And of course, it's during World War II, so they're just laughing at him. And he's like, he realizes that, and he's like, oh. That's funny. Billie Piper hanging from a ladder in the middle of London with a big British shirt on. That's kind of funny to me. And then it has that magnificent ending I love that ending. That ending is so good, especially for Eccleston's doctor, who has lost so much and has gone through so much hurt, so much pain, so much post-traumatic stress, that he gets to save everyone. That when he realizes what's going on and that he can save everyone, that whole speech of his is just, that's one of the best speeches a doctor's ever given. His Everybody Lives speech. I love that. Just this once, Rose. Everybody lives. Just that smile on Eccleston's face as he says it and as he throws those nanites out. The fact that this time he can save everyone. That he gets to have that moment when he says that, oh yes, give me this. Just give me this one. Give me a day like today. Because especially for this doctor, he needs that. He really needs that. So that hits even harder for me because it's his doctor that gets to have that wonderful moment. And I do love the bit at the end when the doctor's talking to the one patient. Well, you sure you only had just one leg before? There was a war on, you know. It's a nice little humorous moment. It's funny. I got a kick out of it. And then, of course, watching the doctor dance at the end. I love that. It's such a well-made episode. And once again, Stephen Moffat proving why he's one of the best. Now, the top three were really hard to do, and I did not know going into this what was going to be number one, because I did this list completely from the bottom up, like completely. I started at 150, which really, if I think about it, turned out to be 151, and I worked up completely. So I did not know what the top one was going to be until I got to the top one, or at least to the second one. These top three are really hard to pick between because they're all just phenomenal pieces of Doctor Who. Classic, modern, whatever. They're phenomenal pieces of Doctor Who. So let's talk about the top three. Number 3 on the list is Blink. Now, Blink did win my Tennant one. When I ranked all of the Tennant stories a while back, Blink was at number 1. It's such a phenomenally good story, especially for a story that is a Dr. Light story. You wouldn't think that would work, but it has a lot of things going for it. One, Carrie is a really good actress, and I know she's really big now. She's really grown in popularity. I'd like to think maybe this helped catapult that. But she is phenomenal in this episode. The policeman that helps her is good. The old and young version of him are both really good. I don't really care for the brother, her friend's brother. He's okay. Now the girl playing her best friend, she's good. We don't have a lot of her, but she's good. And then the fact the story is so good, and it's easily one of the best villains Doctor Who has ever created. Easily the best modern Doctor Who villain. They've been watered down a little bit since, but imagine if the Weeping Angels had only had like 3 stories. This one, Flesh and Stone, and Village of the Angels. Imagine that. Because they're a fascinating concept. The idea of the Weeping Angels is just a fascinating one. They're just inherently creepy. Once again, taking something in normal everyday life, in our everyday world, and making it dark and scary and dangerous. The idea of a statue that can kill you when you're not looking at it. Much like the Vashta Nerada, not every statue, but any statue. Instead of not every shadow, any shadow. It's not every statue, but any statue. So you never know. But when a statue could just, oh crap, it moved. That's a fascinating concept. And the way that they do that with the little sound effects when they move, the shots of them moving, they always look creepy and unnerving. And the way they kill you, the fact they don't just kill you, how they send you back in time and live off the energy and leave you stuck in the past, that's a fascinating idea. Everything comes together so well in this. And then the Doctor, of course, being stuck in 1969 and having to work like this to get himself back. I love the scene at the end when the Doctor is talking to her through the computer because he has a transcript of everything they're going to say. It's creepy. I mean, it's creepy a couple times before when it kind of happens when she's in the shop and then when she's at her friend's house. And, you know, like I said, the story moves along at a good clip. It keeps you invested. But that conversation at the end when he's like, and that's all I've got. I don't know what stopped you talking, but I can guess they're coming. And I love the bit when you're not looking at it. Neither are you. I did love the line of, I can rewind it. Well, what good would that do? And when, like, she leaves and he glances away and looks back and it's, like, right in his face. And then, of course, I love how the Doctor tricks them, how they're all looking at each other at the end. It's a phenomenal piece of television. It's not exactly a good first episode of Doctor Who to show someone, because I don't really think of it as a traditional episode of Doctor Who, if there is such a thing. I have shown people this episode before. But I don't know if it's a good first episode, because I don't think it's indicative of what Doctor Who is as a whole, especially considering it's a very Doctor Light episode. But it's definitely a good one. It's good horror in general. And it deserves all the accolades it gets. I would never call Blink overrated. And number 2 on the list is Dalek. One of the best Dalek stories ever made. The story I've often cited as the best Dalek story ever made. It's really hard for me to pick between Power and this one. It does so many things right. One, it reintroduces the Daleks for a modern audience, or introduces the Daleks for a modern audience, and really brings them into the modern show well. And it shows how deadly one Dalek could be. I mean, this story really gets the Daleks and how smart they are, how dangerous they are, how unfeeling they are, and why it's such a cruel twist of fate for the Dalek itself when it does develop these emotions. It's directed well. Everyone is putting in a good performance. Billy Piper, Christopher Eccleston is nailing it here. The guy playing Van Statten, the girl playing his assistant, the guy playing Fauntleroy, whatever his name is, Michael, I forget his name. He's doing good. Everyone's putting in good performances here. It's a really, really good episode. Watching the Dalek just rip through the military soldiers, it shows you just how deadly one Dalek is. And Eccleston explains it to Van Statten when he's talking, how many people are on the West Coast, blah, 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 all dead. Why? Because it honestly believes they should die. I just love how Eccleston's like, all dead. Why? Because it honestly believes they should die. It's such a good performance. I absolutely love this episode. The conversations between the Doctor and the Dalek, it has never been more personal for the Doctor against the Daleks as it is in this episode, when all of the rage that he has had pent up for so long against the Daleks, but for basically causing the death of his people. But he'd always taken solace in the fact that at least he wiped the Daleks out and they're gone from the universe, just to find out there's still one in existence, and all of that hatred and rage and bitterness and everything he had been burying comes boiling to the surface, back. I get that. So when he first enters the room and he hears it talking, he's like, impossible. And then once he realizes it can't attack him, and he just laughs. When he realizes the gun doesn't work, and he just does that laugh he does. Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. I love that. And then he has that whole scene there. Your race is dead. You lie. I saw it happen. I made it happen. Oh, I just love that. The Doctor unleashed. And then the scene they have later when they're talking on the cameras, when he's like, why don't you just die? And you see him just losing it. You can kind of see like the spit kind of on his mouth where he's just enraged. He just has so much anger coming out. And then the Dalek's like, you would make a good Dalek. You're like, oh, the Dalek just won that comeback battle right there. it just comes together well, just to see that the Doctor couldn't shoot it at the end because he realized it had changed. And he actually says, I'm sorry. The fact he's able to let that go when he looks at it, you absorbed more than that from Rose. You absorbed a lot more. I'm the last Dalek. You're not even that. I love that. When he just looks at it and says, I'm sorry. Isn't that a good thing? Not for a Dalek. And sure enough, the Dalek destroys itself. This isn't life. This is sickness. It encompasses everything so well. And it gets the Daleks better than almost every story about the Daleks. I mean, right up there with how well David Whittaker understood the Daleks. I think David Whittaker understood the Daleks better than Terry Nation did. So it's just written so well. Such a good story. Essential watching for any Doctor Who fan. And that brings me to number 1 on the list. The story I think is the best modern Doctor Who story. Easily my favorite, apparently. I did not know it was going to rank this high, actually. Again, this is one I've always liked. I've always called it underrated. But I did not know it was going to be number 1 until I got here. But now that I think about it, I am okay with that decision. And we're going to talk about Gridlock. I love Gridlock. Again, I love Series 3. This is a very underrated episode. This is a great first episode to show somebody, though, because you get a lot of the exposition in it. You get a fun, adventurous romp. You get a lot of time with Tennant, a lot of time with Martha, time with them together. You get an episode with a strong showing from a companion. You get the Doctor doing a lot. You get humor. You get seriousness. You get action. You get sadness. You get a whole range of stuff going on in it. I also, of course, love the actor who plays Brannigan, because I know he also played George in My Hero. I can recognize that voice anywhere. I like him. I love a lot of the guest cast, the people in the cars. The 2 old ladies, the 2 old married ladies, I love them. The guy with the kind of posh British hat, I like that. I love learning that the Doctor got his coat from Janis Joplin. I enjoy the Macra being in it. This was the first time I'd ever seen the Macra. I don't even think I'd ever heard of the Macra Terra before this, because before the Macra Terra was released in animated form, I don't think it was talked about much. It was just kind of one of those B stories that was completely missing that some people knew about. I don't remember ever even hearing of it growing up. So this was my introduction to the Macra. I didn't even know if they were from Classic Who, even though the Doctor in the episode mentioned seeing them before, so I wondered, was this a throwback that I just don't know about, which it was. So it was nice seeing them in it. I love the story. I love the execution. It's directed well. I like the bits at the beginning with Martha wanting to go to his homeworld and him kind of glossing over that. Where's the fun in that? And me, he lies to her and how that kind of eats at him for the rest of it. I love basically the fact that the Doctor didn't like the little patch drugs they were selling, and how that actually turned out to be the cause of all the problems was the Bliss patch drug. Another, much like Nightmare of Eden, lesson that drugs are bad, kids. And it was those little patch drugs that caused the problem in the first place. I enjoy the ending with the face of Bo, and that whole scene with the face of Bo is wonderful. I mean, I feel like the Doctor was able to kind of fix everything a little too quickly and a little too easily, but he's the Doctor. That's just part of it. And he's got a Sonic. But the ending scene with the face of Bo, when the face of Bo is dying, that is such a beautiful scene. I also love that version of the face of Bo theme. Right? I love the face of Bo theme in general, but I really like this version of it. You know, and Martha learning that there's no more Time Lords left, you know, when the face of Bo is like, I am the last of my kind, just as you are the last of yours. And he's like, that's why we have to survive, you know, don't go. But I must. And then, of course, that nice teaser of you are not alone. And then I love the scene at the end when Martha's not having it. I like the fact she stands up and pulls up the chair, and he's like, are you staying? She goes, no, I'm not leaving until you talk to me. That whole scene between them at the end is beautifully acted from both of them, but I love the way Tennant delivers his lines, that infinite sadness that the 10th Doctor carries, the man who regrets, and how much it hits him. But I mean, imagine that. Imagine you're the last human and Earth is destroyed, how you would feel. I love the way he describes Gallifrey, you know, and he talks about, you know, it's all gone now, my friends, my family, even that sky. And how he talks about you should have seen that old planet. The sky was a burnt orange, and the leaves were silver, and the light would come over, and they would shine. I love that. It's so beautiful. And that's how, and he explains to her about the Time War and the Daleks, and we lost. Everyone lost. And how that's how the episode ends with him talking to her. It's beautiful. It encompasses everything a modern Doctor Who episode should be. It's a great first episode to show someone. And I love it. Apparently my favorite episode of modern Doctor Who, quite possibly the best episode of modern Doctor Who, Gridlock. So I want to know, what do you think? What do you think of my list, and how would you rank them if you want to take the time to rank that? If you just want to do your top 10 or 20, do that. So comment down below and let me know. Other things to do. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. I feel like with this list I've earned it. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down in the description below. Several different tiers there to choose from if anything interests you. I also want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Finn Perkins, Stephen Crane, and Colin Coney. I do appreciate their support, as I appreciate the support of all of my patrons, past and present. I appreciate each and every one of you. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at, review, Doctor Who related or otherwise. I have a link to my Amazon wish list down there as well, some other stuff I'm interested in. And most importantly, thank you for watching. So, 26, 27, what, 2007? 27-year-old spoilers. No, that's not right either. I'm doing my math terribly. Spoiler warning. For 17-year-old spoilers. There we go. Let's try that again.